Barry, let's start with you. You have done these tests. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
Sure. I started with 23andMe, was interested in the health aspects of it, but quickly got interested in the genealogy side of it. And so I, being a tech kind of guy and loving science, wanted to see how realistic are these things and do they compare to each other. So I tested with all the companies, started comparing what their ethnicity estimates were, and really got hooked. It's really a powerful tool for genealogy.
Were you surprised, or did you find any problems?
No, not really with me. I expected to be told I was 100% European, and no real surprises there. I've had other people, I manage a couple dozen kits, and I've had some people with more interesting ethnic backgrounds test, and so that's really fascinating to see how their DNA showcases the migration patterns that have happened around the world.
What can these kits, what can or can't they tell you?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to find. Certainly it'll indicate close relationships, so you might find a surprise half-sibling. It can help eliminate certain relationships or suspected relationships. But the further back you go, the harder it gets to prove. So there's a little more work and knowledge that has to be involved there. But it becomes fascinating once you know a little bit about how DNA is inherited. You can really start to separate who your matches are and figure out exactly what the relationship is.
What are the risks of testing? You could end up exposing some family secrets and having to deal with that.
You could, and it's more common than people realize. As these companies get bigger and we have more and more people testing, of the top couple, Ancestry.com is the big one with over 6 million people in their database. 23andMe has over 3 million in theirs. And so people are looking at this and figuring out that there are more unexpected parentage issues than anybody ever realized. And so you could have very interesting questions of what does it mean, what does identity mean, what does family mean, what's it going to mean to you if you turn out to be a half-sibling, or that you find out that your sibling is a half-sibling. Is that going to change your relationship with each other? Is it going to change your relationship with your parents? So people need to think about what these surprises. Everybody says it's not going to happen to my family, and then they get surprised when it does.
And then it does. What are the differences between the kits and the companies?
Most of them are very similar, as Scott was saying. One big difference that I'd want to point out is that Family Tree DNA does a cheek swab. The other companies do the spit test. The cheek swab is important because, especially if you're testing the oldest generations first, which is a big tip, a lot of elderly people have trouble producing enough saliva for the spit tests, so the cheek swab can be useful for that. Also, I have an uncle who had cancer and could not produce saliva, so we had to do that test with him. But for the most part, they're very similar in the process. You create an online account, you do the spit or the swab, you send it back in and you wait, and then you just start seeing what comes up.
What other resources are there for ancestry research?
In Chicago, there's a lot of them. I'm with the Chicago Genealogical Society. We have an event, a free event coming up on February 3rd in Andersonville at the Swedish History Museum. That highlights a couple things. You'll have a great speaker, but also we have around the city all of these little neighborhood history museums or ethnic groups in neighborhoods. And also the Newberry Library is a great resource, the Chicago History Museum. It's just a great place to be doing genealogy.
Excellent. Barry Love and Scott Wiseman, thank you so much for joining us.